Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in the world of rugby. My name is Hendrik Fourie for the 15 Rugby Podcast. Today, we're quickly going to have a look at the Springbok team for the England match this coming Saturday at 20 to 6 p.m. South African time in Johannesburg at Ellis Park. That promises to be a great rugby match. I think the last time that England played was their last match in the Six Nations, and the Springboks haven't played an official test since last year. So for both of these teams, it's an opening match for this international season. So it's going to be great. I'm going to run through the team and give my 2 cents for whatever it's worth. I think just overall, it's a really solid team. I think Rassi and these co-selectors and coaches went with experience as far as possible, and quite a solid team. Although I do have my reservations about a few decisions, and I'll talk about it as we go through that. The front row, number one, Oxen Chair. I mean, you can't go wrong with that. Ox deserves it through and through. Malcolm Marx is the legend. Number three, Thomas Atoy, great stuff. I'm happy for him. He hasn't been on our radar this entire season, but we all know that Thomas Atoy has come through the ranks and he's really put in the hard work. And so I think that's a great front row. Then we all know and understand that we've got some serious injury woes in the lock position at the moment. I'm not going to elaborate on that, but number 4 and 5, Eben Etzebeth and Roan Orkia. I think even if we didn't have a whole bunch of injuries, they might still have been the first choice. For me, Roan Orkia was one of the standout locks throughout the UR season, and he thoroughly deserves to be there. Um, we all know what we have in Eben Etzebeth, and I think for at least 50 minutes, Eben Etzebeth will be a force to be reckoned with. My first gripe comes with one of the loose trio players, and I will be ready to receive a lot of backlash on this one, and that is for our captain, Siya Kolisi. Unfortunately, Siya Kolisi hasn't been, his form this season hasn't been wonderful. And for me, I'm old school in the sense that I believe that the Springbok team must first and foremost be selected on your current form. And Siya Kolisi's form throughout this URC, when he wasn't injured, was average at best. I know that Siya Kolisi brings great leadership, he brings great motivation and emotions to the team. So that's good. I'm not saying that he's in any way bad, but for me, the player in the number 6 jersey throughout the season was Paul de Villiers, and I'm very sad to see that he hasn't even made the 23. So that's my first point of concern regarding especially the starting lineup. Then with Peter Steff and Jasper Wiese, no problem. I will say just this, that at number 8, I would have thought that Evan Roos would get the nod on the bench at least. Throughout the URC, he was the more consistent number 8. Although I love Cameron Hanekom, I don't think Cameron Hanekom has reached his peak this season yet, where Evan Roos has. So I'm a little bit disappointed that Evan Roos is not on the bench, but we'll get to the bench a little bit later. Number 9, Grant Williams, is great. He had a great season for the Sharks when he wasn't injured. He really played well. Not my number one choice. My number one choice, again, based on the URC season and the entirety of it, was Embrose Papier. For me, hands down, he was probably the player of the tournament. Is at least the South African player of the tournament. So I would have chosen Papier first, but I think Grant Williams is great as well. But yeah, just a little bit disappointed there for Papier. Number 10, Mani Lebok is the obvious choice. With Handré Pollard's form missing in action at the moment, and Sasha Feinberg and Gomez Zulu still on the injury list, Mani Lebok is the obvious go-to. Um, and I know there are many critics for Mani Lebok, and it's sometimes it's warranted, but Mani Lebok really is a bit of an X factor, and he can take the game forward as well. The biggest criticism against Libok is mostly aimed at his goal kicking and sometimes at his play as well. But for 80% of the time, Mani Libok is a really agile number 10, a good number 10, makes good decisions. So I'm quite happy with Mani Libok there. The two wingers, Kirtley Arendse and Cheslin Colby, at that stage basically select themselves, although I will say Edwin van der Merwe probably only just missed out by the breadth of a hair, as him and Kirtley Arendse especially are very much of the same cut from the same cloth, and either one of them would have been great. But I'm sure Ed Wolf van der Merwe will get lots of opportunities this year still. So quite happy with that. Cheslin, of course, is a legend, a living legend, a playing legend. Number 12 and 13, Damien Dalenda and Jesse Creel was sort of expected, especially number 13, Jesse Creel is, at this stage, he's my permanent number 13. I'm a little bit surprised at Damien Dalenda. I would have hoped to see Andre Esterhuizen in the starting lineup, but given the lock situation, I do understand where the coaches are coming from, and they're probably going to utilize Andre as a hybrid forward, and probably maybe after about 50 minutes or so, Eben Etzebeth will come off. Peter Stepp will maybe move into the lock role, and then Andre Esterhuizen will go into the number 7 flank position, and Marco van Staden to the number 6 flank position. That's what I think will happen. And then, of course, number 15, Damian Willems is such a star that he's such an all-round, well-rounded player. And he's such a deserving player. So I'm really happy to see him there. I love seeing Damian Willems flourish. He's just a fantastic player. Um, I think Apelile Fassi was probably very close to making it. And then again, I will say that I'm quite disappointed that Fassi is not on the bench, and I will get to that in a minute. But then if we do get to the bench, this is my other concern at the moment, is the front row on the bench. We've got Jan-Hendrik Wessels, Gerard Steenekamp, and Zachary Porthen. Now, I believe that all three of them are great players, but again, based on the URC and the form there, I would have suspected Ntutukum Chunu to be on the bench. I would have expected Andre Guventer, who had a really solid URC season, to be on the bench. And then I did expect somebody like Carlos Sardi to be on the bench as well. I did not expect Zachary Porthen, but I know that he's a hard worker and he's a hard player. And clearly, the coaches have got something in mind with regards to the future with him, especially, and with that front row. But I will say that that is one of the places where where there's a bit of a question mark, is the front row off the bench. Then we've got Marco van Staden, and as I said, well, Marco can double up on hooker if he needs to, although I don't think he would have to. He would probably come in after about 60 minutes or so, in for Sia Kolisi on the number 6 flank. Cameron Hanekom will most probably come in at number 8 after 50 or so minutes. Cameron is obviously also a great player. Then, interesting, Rassi chose a 5-3 split, which is a little bit off the track that he usually goes. Normally, he would go for 6-2 or even the infamous 7-1. Although, watch out for the 8-0 split in future. Don't throw that away. Nevertheless, Kobus Reinach is on the bench, and we all know what a quality player Kobus Reinach is. However, Kobus Reinach coming back from an injury straight into the team ahead of Emrose Papier, I would not have selected that. I would have selected Papier at least on the bench. Then Andre Esterhuizen, we understand his role at the moment as a hybrid player. I'm not a fan of the hybrid player situation, but if Andre is happy with that and the coaches know what they are doing and they keep winning the World Cup for us, then I suppose that's fine. However, I love to see Andre at number 12. I think he's fantastic. Number 23 is probably my biggest gripe, and that's Kane Moody. I have absolutely nothing against the person of Kane Moody. Let me just be honest about that. However, Kane Moody was at best below average throughout the entire URC season. He really did nothing to set himself apart as one of the better backline players during the URC. I feel for players like Harold Foster, who were fantastic. Um, the centre from the Stormers, his name escapes me now, Roan Nel. Oftentimes also captain for the Stormers. He was really solid on the centre. So for me, I'm really surprised to see Caden Moody in the mix. I know Caden Moody can play centre and wing. I'm just not so sure if taking Cheslin Colby or Gertley Arendse off and replacing either of them with Caden Moody will be an improvement. But I do suspect that Caden Moody will probably slot in on number 12 and let De Allende come off. Which I don't think will be an improvement either, not at this stage and not with the current form that he's in. So I'm just to come back to players like Fossey and Q and Horn. I think they could be disappointed that neither of them are in the team, especially since Rassi said that the experiment with Q and Horn was to see if he could play 10. Clearly he can. He can play fullback, he can play wing. I wouldn't put him on the centre, of course. But Kewen gives you more options should there be a problem at 10 as well. Nevertheless, I think it's a great team. I think it's a solid team. I hope that they really do well. I suspect that we will beat England by anything from 10 to 15 points and hopefully a lot more. And I wish every Springbok player and the staff and the admin and the coaches and everybody involved there all of the best for the match this Saturday. Fully behind you, like every other proper Springbok supporter. I hope that we honestly put the English away very, very early and thoroughly. From me, Hendrik Fourie, have a wonderful week and have a wonderful weekend. There's lots of rugby to watch. Cheers.